Hey everybody, happy Monday, as happy as Mondays get.
How many times I gotta tell you there are no words? Okay, Rob, there's no words to the theme song.
There's words, damn it! I wrote the words.
No.
I want that sweet royalty money for words. That whole 3 cents.
I know what they are.
Yeah, royalty. The royalty laws have not changed. I am, of course, your narrator speaking, Mr. Rob Robot Shlomo. This is Midnight Edge After Dark. With me, as always, Mr. Tom Connors.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it is where you're at.
On today's show, the Phantom Menace was an empty threat. The Rise of Skywalker tracking to be the lowest Star Wars movie opening. Tom tries to watch Terminator Dark Fate, as does Mecca. We finally have something worth seeing on Batwoman. With us actually is a special guest. Speaking of the Phantom Menace, is Mr. Stephen Walton.
What's going on, everybody? Author Stephen Walton here. Be good to each other. Good to see you in the chat. Hit that like button.
Hit that like button, yes. And of course, we have your favorite YouTube harpy.
I have to turn on the camera, don't I?
She has an Emmy, an ESPY, an Oscar, a BAMI, a Grammy, a PhD, a BA, a BA, a BF, a Tony, an ESPY, a BAFTA, a PhD.
Not yet a Saturn.
And she's got a Saturn, a Hugo. And she's a BMF. It's Mecca Random.
Anthony Gramuglia hates women, apparently, from CBR. He hates LGBT women. He does. Oh, absolutely. He's such a male feminist that he just is so sexist and homophobic against LGBT women.
What was his name?
Anthony Gramuglia, because he's blocked me on Twitter before I've ever heard of him.
Really?
Yeah. Well, this means you're on a block list like all of us, honey.
Well, I mean, maybe he's a sexist homophobe, or else he would not attack me with his little articles and then block me from behind a block wall.
Okay,
or attack me from behind a block wall, Riley.
All right, I'm starting to get really ticked off. How come I haven't been harassed yet?
Because you don't use the Midnight's Edge logo as your name?
Yeah, but just on like little hate groups.
Yeah, we are hate
more work, Rob.
I mean, yeah.
You got to put in more work. You got to get more attention. You got to get more people to hate you.
I just think it might be impossible to hate me. I think that's it.
I hate you though.
I have such charisma that it's impossible to hate me. I wouldn't even hate me.
Keep telling yourself.
That's
anyway. Already. Matt G gave us $2 right off the bat, and then another $1. So thank you so much, good sir, for that. Ka-ching. Ka-ching up. That's how disorganized Rob is.
Oh, and for everybody who says, "Oh, you're so like an SJW now," it's like, no, I'm playing by their rules. See, that's the thing. Anytime they attack somebody or say anything negative, I can hide behind the diversity shield that they have established is a thing. So we're just playing by their rules.
Yeah, Ronan Blade said Rob's comedian. They're all hated. No, comedians usually hate themselves.
Self-loathing, yes.
So okay, Rise of Skywalker. Okay, so here's what we got here.
Man, I love this website.
Don't
I love
them. Yeah.
Keep giving more material every time I turn around. I love them. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. I'm just waiting for them to start striking people like Anime News Network did with Hero Hey. over the Vic Mignogna stuff way back.
Oh yeah.
Because that'll be their next move. Is like they're gonna start writing hit pieces about us, and then they'll start striking us, and that'll be fun. That'll be a fun ride because you know what happens when people get struck is that they come back 10 times stronger.
I was going to say the next article we get into has quite a bit of libel in it, but we'll get to that. That. This is just getting here.
So we should forward this to Nick Rekieta then.
Maybe.
Rise of Skywalker is tracking for lowest opening of new Star Wars trilogy. CBR.com.
Hashtag you get what you deserve.
That's not looking too good. Because if correct me if I'm wrong, The Last Jedi performed what 40% or not that much, but about 20-25% less than the Force Awakens, somewhere in that region.
Yeah,
something's not. I'm sorry, Rob. Something's not clicking here. Didn't they have the best ticket sales on the internet? Not that long ago, wasn't that reported?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's only if you go by the first hour on this little site that not a whole lot of people use or have heard of. That is also coincidentally owned by Disney, but you know.
Oh, and run by J.J. Abrams. That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there is this narrative going around with that the whole Disney bought tickets, and I'd have an easier time believing that, except for it didn't break any records.
I don't think they broke. I don't think it broke, or no, I don't think that they're buying their own tickets. Why would they do that now?
Yeah, they did a piss poor job if that's the case. Hey, Mary. Yeah, loving how this is all looking. Yeah, you're gonna get a kick out of this, Mary. So yeah, Rob, tell us a little bit about according to CBR.com, they have to say about this whole business of breaking records.
So Samuel Gelman is the guy who wrote this. Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker is projected to have the lowest opening of the new Star Wars trilogy, which includes The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. According to Box Office Pro, the third film in the trilogy is projected to open between $185 million and $225 million. That puts it below The Force Awakens, $248 million, and The Last Jedi's $220 million. However, long-range ticketing forecasts often change as the release dates get closer. In some cases, they go down. My interjection. Furthermore, the higher end of The Rise of Skywalker is $225 million, which would, in fact, place it above The Last Jedi. Now you're just hoping against hope, aren't you?
It might go a little higher than Last Jedi because it's the last one, and people will see it out of nostalgia and obligation.
All the member berries?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, personally, I want to see horses in space. That's the big draw for me. I want to see how they pull that off.
I don't want to see it until I see porgs and Ewoks. And those Ewoks better not be dead.
Well, my whole thing is I was on the same page as you guys with that. I was like, oh, it's going to be a big opening no matter what. Until we had the whole
the lowest tracking.
And the lowest tracking. So now I'm starting to wonder. But yeah, so anyway, Rob, what's going on with this article here?
So basically, still does that mean Rise of Skywalker failed the box office? The film has already sold more tickets than any other Star Wars movie on Fandango and set the general record on Adam, which is BS, and we showed you why. And now they said just moments later that Rise of Skywalker pre-sales records prove fan boycott was an empty threat.
What fan boycott? You can't boycott something that's like 2 months away. Are they fucking stupid? They're just literally brain dead, aren't they? Was he aborted as a fetus?
See, here's the thing. You're confusing a fan boycott with nobody giving a shit anymore.
It's also 2 fucking months away. It's 2 months away. Who buys tickets 2 months away for every goddamn movie?
Now, I mean, to be fair, I've seen people saying boycott 9 and boycott 9 in the chats and various different channels.
Oh, yeah, I don't believe it.
Right? Yeah, but still, I mean, just out of curiosity, people are going to go see this.
Oh yeah.
So I don't see any kind of organized boycott. I don't know.
Ethan Van Sciver bought his tickets while we were on the stream on the High Council that week. I haven't bought tickets yet because I don't make the kind of money Ethan Van Sciver makes. But no, that's just the thing. It's like I don't care that much to boycott it. I mean, what am I gonna do? Go out and stand outside with a sign? No. If the movie blows, I just won't go. If I hear that it's stupid, and the trailer made it look stupid. There's nothing interesting about this trailer. I don't care about any of these characters. You show me Rey and Kylo, big fucking whoop, right?
I'm gonna go see Cats and then use one of the Disney bought seats.
Yeah, Disney will buy your ticket.
Yeah.
I'll use binoculars and I'll get a pair of binoculars and go find the drive-in, and then put like a walkie-talkie there and rubber band it together. Then I can see it and hear it.
They have known for months from the search algorithms on the internet that nobody really cares. I wrote an article that said Star Wars, nobody cares. Because if you look at, I think Ichibaka is the one that did it. If you search up Star Wars Episode 9, and all the autofill was like, is going to be bad, is going to bomb. It's like that. It's nothing, almost all negative. Like there's no energy going into this movie. They really screwed the pooch when they allowed Kiri Hart and Ruin Johnson and the story group to do what they did in The Last Jedi. And they're going to wake up and realize it in Episode 9. And I'm hoping that Bob Iger gets off his ass, does his job, starts firing some people, and put some people in charge that actually care about this franchise and would like to see it grow. Because considering that they can't sell merchandise, they can't move merchandise, they're not even putting that much merchandise out now because they can't even move it. They've got so much backstock.
Yeah, I was at Target. There's hardly any merch from this. And this is October, the end of October. Yeah. All of the fourth quarter Christmas displays are out as far as toys go.
We tried to say that a lot of the figures won't be coming out until the movie. The movie opens just before Christmas. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Even George knew he was smart enough to get the figures out
before Christmas.
Well, the movie comes out in the summer, so he made sure that the figures were out in like the beginning of May when the movie came out at the end of May. He would only hold back very, very few random things from here and there just to avoid certain spoilers, not an entire line, if that's what JJ is implying.
Well, let's ask George. George, did you release the toys before Christmas?
Well, of course I did. However else are we supposed to get them in kids' hands? Well, we didn't have them for the first movie, but that's where we got really smart.
But they wanted to, though. They
Believe
tried.
Me, kids will buy anything. They bought a whole thing of fucking cardboard.
Well, thank you, George.
Oh yeah, kids in my neighborhood are playing with the Snoke setup from The Last Jedi.
Why would you? He's creepy and weird.
Bad movie.
Freaking deformed Hugh Hefner in the big golden robe.
Right. He didn't have to be. He could have been good if you had gotten competent writers. He could have been a good character. It could have been.
They could have given him a story. They could have given him a backstory, a reason to be.
You're asking too much, Mecca. You're asking for backstory. Look at Rey, the hero. Nobody knows. Yeah, nobody knows you.
So, are you saying that Rian Johnson isn't a good writer? So, every time we say his name, Rian Johnson appears.
Hey, Ryan. Ryan's out. Here we go.
We always say that Rian Johnson sounds like Eric Cartman. So.
A little bit.
Eric Cartman.
Now, Steven. Okay, hold on. I really want to. I want to ask Steven because he's the professional writer journalist amongst us. I'm only an amateur journalist on the internet. What does the story group do?
What does the story group do? A story group is supposed to put together an outline with bullet points in which you follow so that you can create a cohesive story. You even go back and you do some editing on that. If you need to change something, if a better idea comes up. Unfortunately, the people that they have instituted at Disney Lucasfilm are only interested in shitting on each other and throwing pies at one another. I guess because I don't know what they're doing. I haven't seen any kind of cohesive story come out of the sequel trilogy. We don't even know who the main character is. The villain's already been beaten twice. You know what? Just let Reylo happen. That's what I'm at.
because
They are, because that's what's been testing according to their very, very loaded polls and surveys on their Star Wars sites.
Well, to be fair, all we've gotten is I think wasn't it Daisy Ridley who said they are going to address that, and that could simply mean that they're brother and sister. That's all that could mean.
Oh God, I hope they make out and they're brother and sister. I hope they go full Pando Calrissian on that.
Well, he's
I do too.
Well, hold on. First of all, Mexican Iron Man for 1999. I'm a Doomcock Luthien, and I'm tired of being called a racist, right-wing, misogynist hater. Thus, I am boycotting because I don't care about the storyline, and I'm tired of being part of some secret society that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if I'm not getting the perks.
Right?
Right? Damn, man. Hail Mexican Iron Man. That's my buddy right there.
Yeah,
Michael
we love
Clark.
it.
Michael Clark, $4.99. Cats, yes, I'd have more fun watching and making fun of that garbage than watching Rise of Skywalker. Cats, don't forget.
That could be entertaining as crap. That could be like sometimes these really, really bad ones are better than just the meh ones. And Star Wars, it just looks meh. It looks like it's going to be a boring waste of time.
Yes, the Cats movie could turn out like that John Travolta movie, The Fanatic.
Yeah. What?
I'd say it could turn out like Batwoman, where it's just like so bad it's good almost.
Well, that's basically
what if episode 9 turns out to be like The Room?
It won't
that
be.
would be fucking amazing, but then we'd reach that point where it's kind of come full circle that Star Wars has become as bad as the shit it's based on.
Adam Driver's like, yeah, you're tearing me apart. But back to the story group for a second, though.
Did Steven get to see our incarnation of Ryan Johnson there on screen?
No, I see it. Yeah, I see him.
Beautiful, isn't it?
I don't know. He just kind of reminds me of Cartman in the Mirror universe.
That's what I'm saying.
Dead on that.
I never realized how much he looks like Eric Cartman. Is he from Colorado by any chance?
All right, yeah, back to the stupid story. This ignorant filth of a story. I don't know how you can call this journalism.
It's not. This guy is
this is CBR.
Yeah, all of us.
CBR is to journalism what the New York Knicks currently are to basketball. And if you follow sports, that ain't saying a lot.
Okay, here's the part that I'm talking about. They talk about the boycott because this is what we were just talking about. We're in this. This video has absolutely nothing to do with the boycott of Star Wars.
But it's Phantom Menace that goes with the narrative.
Yeah,
you've got to facilitate the narrative. You've got to facilitate the lies and the falsehoods. They can't just throw evidence up there. That would be too easy, and you'd have to actually find it.
Is it sad when like people on YouTube are doing more actual investigative journalism,
right?
Than the reporters, because this is what they are. They're paid advertisements. Anytime you see these CBR, all this is why I don't feel bad just taking their articles and like giving you my take on them and ripping them a new a-hole like with the Mary Sue cunts who deserve it. But these articles are just advertisements at this point. They're advertising. See, here's Star Wars. It's going to be good because it broke records. You need to see it because Star Wars.
This all leads back to something that I point out. I'm sorry, I'm going to pitch the book a little bit. This is all something that I point out in chapter 1 of my book, because these journalists, they're all connected in the same email chains. Mm-hmm. They all get the narrative. They get a narrative release. They go, okay, here we're going to tell all of you guys you're going to put out these stories based on this, and you're going to say this, and that's what they do. They've been doing this for almost a decade now. And Mecca's completely right. This is just an advertisement. It's propaganda. It's not information.
Well, look at you probably have this in the book already. The example of last year with all the solo articles, Star Wars or Solo, a Star Wars story. This is before I was really covering that on my channel. I think it was right at the beginning of me switching over a month before. Every single one of those articles said Solo, a Star Wars story, and it flopped. It lost $80 million, and that's why it's a good thing. Everyone said it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Well, we just shown how bipolar they are. They tell the truth in one because we all knew that.
Mm-hmm.
can't not tell the truth. And then they come up with this article, which is a complete bunch of horse shit, to where even the headline is literally fake fucking news, folks. Rise of Skywalker pre-sales record proves fan boycott was an empty threat. What fucking record?
A record of an hour on Atom tickets that no one's ever heard about for a boycott that didn't happen. That hasn't had time to happen yet. I mean,
let's go ahead, Stephen.
And as soon as Adam got exposed, then all of a sudden, this a little bit of drop of truth comes out. Listen, I got to quote hoax hate crime creator Jesse Smollett. You take a drop of truth and sprinkle it on a pile of bullshit lies. That's what they do. That's what this is, Tom.
You give them a little bit of truth.
Well, I mean, problem here, yeah.
Oh, I guess a little bit of a record, but
Right, here's the problem. Okay, I'll give them credit where credit's due. Yes, the Rise of Skywalker did sell better in the first day than all previous Star Wars movies. That is the only record it broke. But then you have a problem. You also have a story with a title like this coming out at the same fucking time. So
is it the same guy?
No,
it's not. But the problem with this is
it's like a dysfunctional family at that place.
Hey, let's all be on the same page, guys. Come on.
Besides that aspect, if it did so well the first day, that means it's done shit all since then for this to be true.
Well, it wasn't even the first day, though, right? It was just the first hour, or are they just they're going by all of them in comparison now?
No, in the first day, it did not beat Endgame. It only beat Endgame in the first hour by 45% more sales. But there are 100 different variables we didn't even get into in our video because it didn't fucking matter in the end of things. But there's 100. Yeah, go ahead.
Didn't those sites crash in the first hour?
Yeah, for Endgame they did, and I think Endgame went on sale at like 5 a.m. Central. And then like somebody else had said something like Adam didn't even start selling theirs until a certain time or something or other too or whatever. Some other variable, and so there's like 100 other variables in there that I'm like, they don't even matter because it doesn't matter. It didn't really break any records other than according to Adam, and Adam said it broke for the first hour, and that's it. That's all. At the end of the day, it didn't break any other records than that, other than the Star Wars quote unquote records.
Well, you just cut and paste that with toxic fans or something else, and you've got half truth. You've got some truth there.
Pretty much, it's sprinkled with a lot of half truths. This other article though is just blatant lies. Like it's just flat out lies. Like I mean, I can't express how many lies this article is containing.
It's an opinion piece, but it distorts reality, is what it is.
More than distorts reality. It's flat out fucking libel, Rob. I even joked with Andre about getting a lawyer on it. I'm like, you wouldn't have to worry about going to court. I bet they're such pussies they buckle after you send them a nasty letter.
You should copyright strike them for linking your article.
Well, not just that. It's liable because I
would seriously go after them for copyright.
Us, but everybody.
No, like legit, go after them for copyright. You can go get them banned from Facebook and Twitter for copyright infringement because they're linking your video libelously.
Well, they're not linked; they're screen grabs, but still, the idea is the same.
Yeah,
right. That's the problem. And then anyway, we got a super chat real quick, Rob.
We do. Sweet super chat. Where's my cha-ching?
I like playing by their rules because they make the rules. So.
This. Okay, it's $5. Exo Squad, Doctor Who, and the first 4 Star Trek had better writers than Rise of Skywalker does. Yeah. It's I hope there's extensive coverage of Star Trek and how in your book there, Stephen.
Yeah.
Oh well, I got Doomcock covering that at first, and we're going to go further from there.
Right. And then I sent him all the info from Andre on the history of us, and I told him if he needs anything from us, just get a hold of it. But anyway, I want to get to this because there's one part of this article where they actually do finally have to admit that even though it's wrong, and we've had to actually here it is right here. What gave Star Wars boycotters a taste of victory was Solo, a Star Wars story's failure at the box office. The film underperformed, becoming the only flop in Star Wars history. Solo director Ron Howard summed it up why he felt the film failed. Bad release date, a concept audiences didn't get behind, and aggressive trolling. Now, I've heard
Aggressive trolling.
Pretty, close people.
He didn't think that at first, though, did he? Because he it was just recent that he said that, and I think somebody told him that. I think like KK or somebody.
Yeah,
probably
he
said
blamed himself for the longest time, it sounded like, and then he all of a sudden switched gears and started blaming the fans because of a aggressive boycott against the film.
Yes.
I was like, no, I just don't want to see it. It looked like it was a bad movie. It had nothing to do with him.
First of all, it was just a bad idea for a movie. Second of all, you're following up The Last Jedi. Third of all, there was absolutely no competition up against this movie. We talked about this last week. Like it had no competition whatsoever other than another Disney movie that bombed. So anyway, yeah, you were going to say something, Steven.
Yeah, I mean, all you would have had to have done. Solo could have been successful easily if they had hired Anthony Groover, and if they had given us Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. Guarantee you that would have been a $800 million movie, easy. Because all of it wasn't bad. I've watched Solo, and I will say I'm okay with a lot of Solo, and I am.
It's not terrible. It's just nothing like great.
I'm on the other end of that. I hate that fucking movie. I can't get past the robot scene.
Oh, I only watched it the one time though. I haven't watched it since.
It comes into the picture. I had to kick it off for this the second time I tried watching it.
Tom. It's one way to get in the mood with a nice, sexy robot, and that's with some Colt 45 malt liquor.
And I can't believe that the life debt between him and Chewie is that dumb.
Yeah.
And there was a shower scene with a Wookiee.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, I laughed at that, but that's not the point. Point is, in most other versions of them, he's been raised by Wookiees or has some kind of like long association with Chewie to where they've been bonded for a very long time. Yeah. To where I get it, they're going to be bonded for a long time by the time we see him in Star Wars, but that's not the point. This was just pretty a loose way for him to have some kind of life debt with him.
Well, it was ham-fisted. It really was. And again, we go back to the fact that you could have decanonized the EU, but you could have pulled from it. There was a lot of great narrative and stories and story arcs there that you could have pulled in and reworked a little bit, and the fans would be in a whole different place right now. Whole different place right now if you gave us a Solo twins and Jaina and Thrawn and Mara, we'd be in a whole different place, but we're not. We're talking about pansexuals in space.
And the biggest problem with the movie, besides making the movie not about him, which is something I know bothers Rob and Mecca most of all, is the fact that he has the same exact arc in this movie that he has in Star Wars. And even though he gets burnt by a woman by the end and he's perfectly set up for the person we're supposed to see, he still is the goody two shoes. So that bothered me. It's like, no. Yeah. No, this guy's supposed to be a swindler. He's supposed to be a jerk.
He's a pirate. That's
right.
Yeah. You could tell that would have been a good setup for him to be resentful towards women, is what he went through in this movie, but they fucked it up. Anyway,
it's like it was written by today's standard of what men are, which is this kind of pussified little puke boy, like what's his name here, like Anthony Gramuglia, these sort of little pussified soft little boys who have to attack people, that sort of thing. That is like who this is, who his character was, these really little pussy boys. So, perfect, like today's standard.
I love when Mecca pulls people's man card. Thank you, honey.
No, I'm talking about the standard, not like what men are, but that's what Hollywood wants them to be. That's what the media and the marketing and the entertainment industry wants men to be.
Well, we got two super chats where we're going. Adam Wolf for $10. You're tearing me apart, Ray. Star Wars: The Rise of the Room. Just give me Heir to the Empire and the EU any day of the week. Just for the record, I didn't have anything to do with lying Adam. It's not me. And Mr. Gently Benevolent, $2 Australian. Solo would have been fine if it had more sporces.
Space workers. Trademark world-class bullshit. I think that's first place I heard spores.
But
that's great.
Solo goes back to what I told you off the air about Kathleen Kennedy and her little naked mole rat colony, in that the men who aren't subservient to her are portrayed as inept, incompetent, and basically idiots. And that's what it is. I mean, that's what they think modern masculinity should be. You be subservient. You know your place. You know, don't do anything. Don't do anything. That to rock the boat. $5 Danish crowns. Aaron Bowden, Warhammer 40,000. That's a mouthful. Hellsreich is a much better story than all the Disney Star Wars movies combined. Same with me and the Hellsreich movie. Oh, very good.
Death Stalker's a better movie than Disney Star Wars.
Yeah.
And they have hubcaps for armor.
We also got a $2 super chat from Captain Hare.
$2 super to Captain Harry. He's probably waiting for me to have an aneurysm. I can't find it here.
Am I too late to proofread your shit?
No, you're not.
Well, the whole article is a bunch of shit. That's the problem with this one. But yeah, I mean, I think people just got wise with Solo, and I was even surprised.
If you stop going to bad movies, they'll stop making bad movies.
Uh-oh. Rig is up.
That's right, Jay Sherman.
The movie blows, just don't go.
If the movie blows, just don't go. But let me ask Steven something. Now, there's a gentleman who appears on Midnight's Edge After Dark with us quite a bit. He said, he said it. So Robert Meyer Burnett, he makes no bone. He said it on his live stream. So there's no point in dancing around who said it. But he said we shouldn't be calling it Disney Star Wars. We should just be calling it.
Who made it?
But to me, there's an obvious demarcation line. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Because you've broken away from the original creator, and it's been bought by another entity. Another person is placed in charge of it. These are the people that are now running. It's still Lucasfilm, but it's now under the umbrella of Disney. It is therefore Disney Star Wars, and anything that comes out of Lucasfilm. If they do Willow, it's going to be Disney Willow. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Why say that it should not be called Disney Star Wars?
Which I don't know if you knew they are doing Willow.
Oh Lord. Okay. Let's go back to the first question.
Ron Howard's involved. It's for the Disney Plus. That's all I know.
Ron Howard. I got a little bit of faith. A little bit. I mean, I do like Ron Howard as director. I think
he cares about his stuff at least.
He does. And you know what? Before he started going toxic fans, I'm sure he was coaxed into that. And you've got to remember all the people around him that were probably feeding him that vitriol.
Mm-hmm.
So he probably just fell into it. So, but I give Ron Howard a pass on that.
Yeah, I could picture a meeting in Kathleen Kennedy's office. Ron, don't forget it's toxic fans who are against you. Toxic, but Miss Kennedy, I you fired the director. It's toxic fans, Ron. Don't ever forget that.
He's also an old balding white dude, and there's a bunch of younger people around him going, "It's toxic fans. It's toxic. It's the hip thing to do." You don't know what he's thinking.
And he's probably getting a lot of the "you're an old white dude" sort of shit in Hollywood too.
Well, I think I can say that it's not a secret that we hung out for a while with his brother, and his brother said that to us, and we flat out told him, if you ever talk to your brother and that comes up again, tell him no. It had absolutely nothing to do with him. It had absolutely nothing to do with the movie at hand. It had everything to do with the movie before it and how the fans were treated. And he goes, "Oh, you mean the movie the other movie with the girl and the lightsaber?" And I didn't see that one.
You told me your brother the character actor? You hung out with him?
Yeah.
He does the odd. I can't think of his name. He does those like odd parts in movies.
Howard, yes.
Oh, he's awesome. Eagle Bauer.
So cool. Yeah, I would love to meet him. I'm jealous.
Yeah, he didn't even watch the last movie. I'm like, no, yeah, that's why people didn't want to go see Solo. It had nothing to do with him.
Hanging out.
Yeah, because we had lunch with them and it was awesome.
Yeah, hanging out in the Midnight presidential suite.
I'm so jealous right now. That's awesome. I remember when he got that MTV award for. Remember when he got the MTV award? They'd given it to Chewbacca and they gave it to somebody else, and they gave it to him, and he was like, really, he was so happy to have won an award that they never gave it out to anybody else again. Like
He's-
that specific.
He was fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
like the coolest
bet.
person I've ever met. I think,
I'll bet.
like
Clint
celebrity
Howard-
wise, yeah.
Class act all the way. So, yeah. Okay, Ronan Blade. KK probably calls him Opie. Yeah. Opie, get in here. I have to talk to you.
Oh, kind of name.
Yeah, we of course when Rob and I were at Dave and Buster's, we're like, oh my god, they got Clint Howard in the coin pusher.
It's
That's
gonna
one
be 20 minutes to get that.
That's one of the pictures I got signed for him.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think we have one. I think Jesse sent us one, or Jesse sent me one about like all of us in the hotel.
I got one of
hanging
them
out.
standing, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody got a couple pictures of him, but we didn't want to be like too obtrusive.
Yeah, I didn't want to be like, give me your autograph, please, 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 have pictures, because like, yeah, we were just hanging out. Like, I didn't want to be that
No, he
person.
was a very gracious guy. I mean, he spent lunch with us, which was like an hour, almost 90 minutes.
Remember?
And that was when we met Vic Mignogna too, because we're having lunch with Clint Howard. Jesse Millers goes out for a smoke. It's like, hey, my friend with the red hair is a big fan of yours. She's having lunch with Clint Howard.
He knew exactly who you were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember what Clint said when I told him I ran across David Tennant when I was in an airport going through customs. And I said, yeah, you know what? He had a big stack of luggage with him, and I wanted to say something to him, but you know what? I said this guy's probably been traveling all day. He's tired. He's probably the last thing he wants to be is bothered by a fan. What did Clint say?
It's a good choice, something like that.
He's like, good call. He's just like,
He's awesome.
Yeah.
well, I want to ask Steven, actually, we had somebody brought up Indiana Jones. I mean, what's your take on the whole way Lucasfilm has treated Disney and Lucasfilm under Crazy KK has treated Indiana Jones so far? Because we haven't seen anything. So I want to ask what your take is, because we're all big Indiana Jones fans. So
I am too.
Yeah.
I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. It was so hard to watch Crystal Skull. I wanted to leave it alone, man. I love Harrison Ford, but he's past the time where he should be playing Indiana Jones. He really is. And if they're going to do it again, I would like to see him passing the torch to someone, and it not be Shia LaBeouf. And gods, I hope they get some writers that worked with it. Spielberg, somebody, just get somebody that worked with the original movies themselves to help craft it, because I don't trust the people that they have in there, the creators they have in there right now. Anything that comes out of Lucasfilm right now under the management that it is under, I am worried about. I'm worried about any production that comes out. Until I see a big difference, until I see Kennedy gone, until I see a difference in the Lucasfilm story group, I don't want to see them put anything out, to be honest with you. But if they're going to do it, I'd like to see him passing the torch. If they're going to go with a reboot, there's an actor out there that does a great Harrison Ford impression that they could get, and try and I'd even maybe go a little younger than Raiders of the Lost Ark. Go like 5 years before that, and start there.
Like maybe in the early 30s, yeah, early like Indy in his early 30s.
Yeah. Because I mean, the actor, I believe, Anthony's. How old is he? He's like 24, 25.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So start out around there. Start around 25, 26.
I would love for
us
that to happen, but I don't think it will.
I want to see the grave robbing Indiana Jones. You know what I mean? I want to see the merciless Indiana Jones. Let's see that guy, and then move him into the character that we love.
I don't see it happening though, because Harrison Ford's so protective of the character.
I mean rightfully so.
But the other side of it is, and here I go again with my love-hate relationship with George Lucas. We all have to remember that Crystal Skull was purely George Lucas pushing that script for over a decade.
Okay, George comes up with great ideas. He is not the greatest executor.
Yeah, the idea behind it was great, and I loved it when I saw it on Stargate as well. Then that's kind of how Stargate originated. It was kind of like a sort of Indiana Jones-ish sort of show with mixed military, mixed with a bunch of other things, but like it could have been so good, because the concept made so much sense, dealing with these artifacts, especially being the huge Stargate fan that I am. the CGI, the pacing, the Shia LaBeoufing, the stupidness of it.
Listen, I say we take George Lucas, we put him in a room, right, with one physician, vitamins, Gatorade, hookers, and cocaine, and we just make him write. And just write. And then the people, and then the story, we get a competent story group, and they take those ideas and they create it into something cohesive. That's what they need to do.
No, this story group needs to be brought outside and flogged. I mean, that's.
Well, here's the biggest problem with that script is it is a unique idea. I loved the little throwback that Indy would have been involved with, area that basically he would have been involved with, the crash and the whole Area 51 thing, and that's where everything is hidden is Area 51. I like that bit in the beginning, but that's as far as you should take the alien shit. It should stop there. Because you have a problem and a conflict of interest then from then on. Because, it's a neat little jab and a little joke. But once you take that too far, it takes all verisimilitude away from the first film and the third film. Because those two movies are solely based on Christian artifacts. And once you start aliens into that brings in a lot of questions about Christianity. Because that's the thing is Harrison Ford's character, obviously Indiana Jones, it is famously at least an agnostic, if not a complete atheist. That's kind of from the start. And the point of these movies were to show him that, it was kind of like even an atheist has to eventually see that, there's
he's a non-believer confronted by
the absolute, especially when you get to the third film. So then when you get to this movie, basing it all around these crystal skulls and all that kind of stuff really just kind of does not fit.
Well, one of the things you can
even argue that the second film is a religious artifact as well, because they're the religious artifact of the
it's just an Eastern religion.
Hindu.
Hindu. One of the things you could have done was you could have set it up where the Roswell crash happened, and the government was developing some kind of super weapon with the technology from and then you set it up rather than Indy versus the Nazis, it's Indy versus the U.S. government.
Well, either way, it was a good way to bring in the Russians, but it didn't have to be all about aliens and the crystal skulls. It could have been something else.
It could. There's so many ways to do it, but I just want to float this by Stephen because I've been saying this for a while now. I don't have any solid proof, but I gotta believe this. I got nothing to base this on except their track record and the current politics and current climate we live in. That when they bought Lucasfilm, Disney bought Lucasfilm, when Kathleen Kennedy was appointed chairperson of Lucasfilm, they could have said to Lucas and Spielberg, "Listen, guys, go and brainstorm for a while, okay? I'll give you as long as you need. When you come up with something good, we'll sit down and we'll talk." I gotta believe that Kathleen Kennedy looked at Indiana Jones, looked at the property, even though she worked on it. She looked at it, she looked at the property, and considering she's so involved in the Me Too movement and all her causes, she looked at it, she just kind of shrugged and said, "I don't know what to do with this. I really don't, because we have nothing, Indiana Jones. We have no toys. We have no merchandise. We don't have even a video game."
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a point of putting someone who was unqualified in that position. First off, as far as Indiana Jones, she ran for some coffee and she danced in one scene in Temple of Doom. Okay, okay. To be fair,
she is head producer, I think, on those films.
Right. To be fair, right, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I was going to say. To be fair, she was head producer, so she was involved in the exchange of monies and things like that. But in the creative aspect, she just kind of sat on the sidelines and watched everyone do their thing. Now you've put her at the head of a creative or a creative group, at the head of Lucasfilm. She's unqualified for that position. I mean, ideology aside, just even if you put all that aside, she's not qualified for that. If you put her as the person who tracks all the money and takes care of all that, I'm sure she'd probably be very proficient at doing that job. And then you add in the ideology, there you've got an inept individual who does not know what they're doing, who cannot multitask on several creative projects because she's not a creative herself. And then you inject, and then you inject the feminist ideology in her, and you just got a soup of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Right. This is something we've kind of seen, like Robert Meyer Burnett and us have not seen quite eye to eye on, and that's where we pointed out to him. Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy, and we've said the same thing you pretty much said yourself in so many words so many times, and that is that basically, yeah, Kathleen Kennedy on paper was right choice for George for him to see his vision forward, only she stabbed him in the back in the process.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, she's never been a creative person, as you brought up. She has never once had her toe dipped into the creative pudding. And the only time that we know of that she did, other than like smaller projects, was Jurassic Park 3 famously. And then that went completely off the rails. And as far as Rob and I and other people have, with research and other things have found, is that's pretty much the reason why Joe Johnston won't work within the vicinity of her anymore, because they do not get along. As far as I've heard.
You can watch basketball for years and years and years of your life. That don't mean you're going to go out there and play like Jordan. You can understand what's going on, but you're not going to have that talent. That's what her problem was. And also putting the ideology into the equation, putting her ideology into the equation. I think honestly that she was sitting there just stewing and waiting to stab him. She was like, "Oh, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to Me Too the living hell out of it." I think that was her intent from the get. I feel bad for George in a way. I mean, I do and I don't. He's the one that sold it, and he's the one that gave the keys over to her. And said this is the person to do the job.
And Matt,
I said she was the right person.
Yeah. George, you sucker! I showed you. I'm finally out at all.
I think it's for fans though. Like for fans, so many of us, like even me, like I said, yeah, when I heard that, I'm like, oh, okay, so he's gonna put somebody who's worked on it and knows what they're doing in charge. Okay, so this is going to make sure that Disney doesn't fuck it up.
That's the thing that most people don't realize. She has never once produced a Star Wars movie until now.
But I was fully behind it. Look, when the Disney acquisition happened, and they had that whole meeting, and they were sitting down with KK, and I was for it. I was like, great, okay, I did no problem with a woman being put in charge, because this was a woman that had a history with Lucasfilm.
And full disclosure, I wasn't a fan of the prequels, so to me, this made complete sense from top to bottom. And George Lucas had always kind of had a connection with Disney. Anybody who knows anything about his history, he was there on the first day it opened at Disney World, and he was there for the whole entire week and had been there every year since. He had wanted to do, he'd actually thought about releasing the prequels through Disney. He'd talked about selling Star Wars to Disney a hell of a long time ago, way back in the 90s, before the prequels, I believe, and that never happened. It just
Star Tours at Disneyland.
And that relationship with him and Captain EO and a lot of other things to where, it was always kind of this thing where I think he always felt like Disney was the place that would foster Star Wars after he was gone, since his kids were not into it. Max Mercer also brings up a point. He says she was never a Star Wars fan. Now, we can't confirm that, but as I just said, she's never worked on a Star Wars movie. It is well known, though, that within their circle, nobody really understood Star Wars except for Steven Spielberg. Like, that's the famous story, is that nobody got it. Even though Francis Ford Coppola was the guy that told George in a fit of rage after they lost all their money from Warner Brothers, why can't you just make a normal fucking movie where people can watch it? Why can't you just make something normal, like a comedy or a kid's movie? So he actually ran with that. So from that argument came, American Graffiti and Star Wars.
Oh, after he made THX 1138.
Yeah, because we lost their deal with Warner Brothers. He's like, why can't you make a normal fucking movie? Was the exact quote, I believe.
That's great.
Yeah. That was
well, and I'm reading his book right now. It's not written by him, but it's his authorized biography. And you can tell George was always somebody who had to go against the rules, no matter what the fucking rules were. He had to do the exact opposite.
Yeah,
every step of the way. It's like it's complete MO. It was like you can't use color and it's got to be under 5 minutes. So he'd use color and make it 20.
Like, right.
He was hired. He was literally hired on as like a student to do the behind the scenes on I can't remember the name of the film now, damn it. But anyway, him and a couple other guys, they were hired to do the behind the scenes work. And his film turned out to be some tone poem about the desert instead of the actual making of the movie. And he ended up pissing off the director, but like 2 years later, it ended up winning some award. So, it was always this thing with George to where he'd always like fail up. And I guess it was kind of like in a good way for the most part, because that's how we got Star Wars out of it. But still, it was just one of those things with him. And of course, now THX is this, cult movie and all that kind of stuff. And of course, for the longest time, American Graffiti was the highest grossing comedy of all time, I think, until Animal House, so.
Mhm.
No, fail up describes Hollywood in a nutshell these days. It really does. And I just
well, and Kathy, we did a whole thing with her where that's all she does is fail up. That's all she's done from the start.
Well, Lewis Black once said about his career. Listen, I'm good at what I do, but I owe a lot of it to timing. I came along at the right time, and so does Kathleen Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
That everyone fails to acknowledge.
Less in the right place, right time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what everyone fails to acknowledge, that she came along at the right time when Spielberg was making E.T. That movie was going to be a hit no matter who produced it.
Even before that, remember when I was on with Jeremy that one night? I don't know if you remember watching Mecker, but we went through the interview. You may have even been on there, where we were watching the interview and all that kind of stuff. And she talks about how she was a quarterback in high school football.
I was a quarterback in high school.
How she was one of the first women working in television, and then she went to find out that she got the job because of an experiment, and she was being watched, and that's how she got her rise to the sports room, because they wanted to see how she'd react. So she didn't even get the job because she was good.
She got the job because she was being used. She's probably the dumbest bitch in the room, and they're laughing at her.
Well, I wouldn't say they were laughing at her, because they did say, she was able to do certain things. Don't get me wrong. And she got herself to a point where she was able to handle, and, a certain amount of behind the scenes, type of responsibilities and the production of us. And that's it. Yeah, she could put together a production, but she did exactly to get us back to where we're at, though. She did exactly to Star Wars what she's done all her life, and that was facilitate her directors. And that was her first and biggest mistake. And that's where I say, unfortunately, as much as I love him as a human being, as much as I can love a man heterosexually, Robert Meyer Burnett is wrong. She is the wrong person for this job. I admit I was wrong to begin with, but when you're somebody who does nothing but facilitate your directors, you should not be overseeing Star Wars. You need to be a Kevin Feige. You need to be somebody who in there taking charge over this whole thing, make sure everything is in order.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's all going to fall apart like The Last Jedi did.
You've got to be able to multitask. You've got to have several different talents. You've got to kind of be a jack of all trades to be put in that position, because you've got to think about it from the different perspectives, from the screenwriters to the actors to the storyboarding, everything. To the direction, everything.
Go back to the original thing that spawned this. Yeah, she may not be a fan. She may be a casual fan, but I highly doubt she's in depth to the point where any of us on this panel are, let alone most of you out there listening, as far as the lore of Star Wars.
You might not have to be a fan to get Star Wars correct, as long as you understand story concepts and why people like something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but at the same time, what I was going to get to is Kevin Feige, on the other hand, he was just steeped in Marvel.
Yeah.
The guy knew Marvel and bled Marvel, breathed and eventually bred Marvel, that's what I was trying to say.
What do you guys think guys think of the idea of Feige taking over Lucasfilm?
I think it's the best idea there is, because he is a Star Wars fan, and if there's somebody who's going to make this universe work, and I don't believe in this Brie Larson bullshit, because anybody who's read Iger's book, Iger takes complete credit for Captain Marvel.
Really?
Much credit is
taking credit for it, so that
that's
looks
part
good
of
on
it.
his resume, though.
But see, the thing is here's the thing: we all thought that there was this whatever going on with television and movies, to where Feige this and Ike Perlmutter to that. No. What it was Iger had the Bible of Marvel characters, okay? And he honed in on Black Panther and Captain Marvel for the obvious reasons, according to him in his book. So this is according to him. So you can take it as you will. Again, grain of salt, and or read into it what you will. And he insisted that, they get those characters in the Marvel universe. And of course, Feige says, well, I've been trying to get Black Panther in the Marvel universe for years, but Ike won't because he says women and black superheroes don't sell. He goes, well, we'll fix that. That's how Ike got out of the equation. So it was kind of like, okay, Feige was really pushing for Black Panther, which was obvious. He wanted him already and got him in there during Civil War. But then the next big push was for Captain Marvel. And I think that was more Feige thanking Iger for getting Ike out of the way was the whole, we're going to make Captain Marvel the next big thing. Cause then flash forward to Endgame where she's hardly in the movie,
Right.
And we still have yet to hear anything about a Captain Marvel 2 that's even remotely solid. And I don't think he's dumb enough to just throw her into it. She may get a cameo in a Star Wars movie. I'm not saying he won't do that, but I don't think he's going to make a Star Wars movie that has a bunch of Marvel cameos in it. I think that's the last thing he's going to want to do.
They would have to be really effing brazen at this point because they know there's a divide in the fandom. They've listened to us. They know what's going on. They would have to be just, I don't know, creatively genocidal to think that Brie Larson would be a good Ahsoka Tano. The one character that could unify all of us, the one good movie, the one good story that they could give that would probably unify everybody if they do it right, would be just destroyed.
But you know why they'll do it if they do it? Because Parrot Analytics, you can get a lot of Twitter impressions out of it. That looks good for your investors who don't understand the difference. And it would get a lot of people talking. And that would be the only reason why they would do it, because that's what they're doing. That's what their numbers are. These movies are not written to tell stories. These movies are written to get the biggest box office opening with the biggest amount of Twitter impressions, social media buzz and all of these things.
Remember, kids, it doesn't matter if it's high quality. It only matters if it makes money.
And the diversity in the cast isn't even actually to make the cast that diverse, more so. As they're even admitting now, it's more so just for
the click.
And not only that, where we've learned with the whole Todd Phillips and other things where there's people, they're basically having woke wars.
Mm-hmm.
They're literally having woke wars. They have basically admitted it now, where that's all they're doing is trying to out woke each other.
Yeah, it's a game of Pokemon.
The other side, I know Rob says stuff about this all the time too, and it's true. Is they think, oh well, if we put these kind of characters in there, then people from other countries will be more apt to see. No, because like Rob will tell you, they want to see people that are beautiful people, Rob, or like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Will Smith, etc., like that, right?
Yeah. Why else did they put Arnold in the new Terminator movie? There's no.
There was a couple of online articles that said one of the reasons why the Chinese didn't go see The Last Jedi, apart from not giving a shit about the story, was that they thought the cast was too ugly.
Same thing with Captain Marvel. Wow. They called her a Doma, which I guess means housewife.
That's right. I forgot about that.
You're like, no, she's too ugly to look at in the theater. So it flopped in China.
And I know we got a lot we could go on in this subject, and we'll probably get back to it, but we do got a couple super chats here, Rob. We got to get to real quick.
Matt G, $2. I think the MCU is done by 2030. Iron Man reboot 2060. Well, I don't know. I have to wait and see. Sister Harrow, $5 Australian. They have to drop Brie in with other characters for people to overlook her, like Endgames. Captain Marvel 2 will have Spider-Man in it. That's one of the things, actually. But one of the things I always keep hearing about in defense of Captain Marvel, defense of Brie Larson, but it made $1 billion. I'm like, well, okay, fine. It's successful at the box office, but at the same time, Brie Larson is just not likable on any level.
I would love to do a controlled experiment in an alternate dimension where we tell people that you don't have to see Captain Marvel to enjoy Endgame or understand Endgame.
Right.
And see the difference in the box office.
And maybe take away all the GoFundMes. Maybe take away the free tickets from Urban Outfitters.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. That's where I may call bullshit on Disney technically buying tickets, but that stuff is true. I do have to admit that, Steven, that part is true. We do have one more Matt G2 you missed, Rob, too.
Okay. Okay. Ka-ching.
Prequels are technically... Is that true? Because George financed himself? Yes. That is very true. There was a point where he was thinking at one point of either releasing them through Fox or releasing them through Disney. And I believe a deal that gave him some more of the rights back to the original Star Wars is what sweetened the pot for him. And he went through Fox. Now, The reason, though, he still retained ownership of those films, so that's why when the whole sale went through before Disney bought Fox, they did own the rights to all the Star Wars films, sans the, Episode 4, whatever you want to call it, Star Wars.
Yeah. I want to say this though. About the whole thing about the tickets and everything. I'm not gonna say that Disney's buying tickets. However, I do know from a couple contacts I had in the concert business, that what they'll do is they'll hold certain tickets and use them as promotional.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what they did with the Urban Eagle Outfitters ones, or American Eagle Outfitters, or whatever they're called.
Yeah. Now, also, I'm not trying to make an excuse, but there's probably a good chance that a lot of Disney employees used Adam to buy their tickets because they probably got some discount.
Right.
Other through work. Now, that doesn't mean they were necessarily out there buying them for Disney, but they were actually probably buying them for themselves or the office members or whoever, for whatever shows to, I don't want to say that it's above the realm of possibility that Disney would do such a thing.
Just they wouldn't need to yet. Why would they need to yet? You got 2 months.
I was going to say they may have been encouraged to.
Yeah. Well, they probably said, "Hey, here, use this Adam tickets. You work for them. You might as well you support your own, right?" That's what
maybe they could. Yeah, maybe they get discounts going through Adam as an employee.
Yeah, well, even if you don't, you want to support your company, and let's say you work for retail, and you can buy that same. Let's say you can buy the same blender anywhere. Well, you buy it from where you work at because it helps your own store sales.
Yeah, and in and of itself, I don't really blame them for that. I mean, that's common sense. It's common business sense.
Yes.
I just want to ask Stephen though about Brie Larson. I mean, what is the overall feeling? I don't know if you've had any discussions with anybody related to Inside Hollywood or anything, but what is your whole take on Brie Larson as Captain? Like I said, everyone points to the movie was successful, but she's just unlikable. What is your take on that?
Ooh, okay. Well, I have feelings about Brie Larson. Matter of fact, in my original script for the volumes, I wrote 3 different chapters on her. Because I just needed to break it down. So Brie Larson's an SJW darling, and we've seen these people before. The Zoe Quinns. We know these people. That she's not as terrible as Zoe Quinn. But she's an SJW darling. She has a pretty face. I'm not going to say she doesn't have a pretty face. You can say whatever else you want. But she's had she's had a privileged life. She was homeschooled. She told, look, so many quotes from this woman I had to go through in order to do some of these chapters.
She's amazing, isn't she? She's gold. That's why I want her as Ahsoka.
Listen, I can't remember the exact quotes, but let me tell you this, that from these quotes that I got from her different periods of her life, she basically told her mother what her dharma was when she was like 3 years old, and then went on to instruct her on how to educate her, on how to educate herself. Because if she didn't, then she's the kind of person who will put you through a 3-point power presentation to explain her point. Okay, this is Brie Larson. She is just a naggy, I'm right, you're wrong type of person. She's an unlikable person. And then we can tell that from the actors that have worked with her that she is an unlikable person. She was up there on stage at that award show doing some, and went off the hill about 40-year-old white dudes. This movie wasn't made for them, blah, blah, blah. Just, she has segregationist ideals that are built upon racism and sexism from the Hollywood echo chamber that she has been brought up in and around. This is the type of person that Kelly Marie Tran was talking about when she said Hollywood is racist. Where she was talking about Brie Larson's. So that is the type of personality you're dealing with, and that shines through to people. Now, others who just look at surface value, just see a pretty face, just see a blonde, they just love her. People who want to hear the SJW talking points, they love her.
No, they want to protect her because we're horrible trolls and we're making her miserable. We hurt her feelings.
Right. We hurt her feelings. She doesn't give a shit about our feelings, y'all. She is rich. She is entitled. She was brought up in that atmosphere. She doesn't give a damn if you disagree with her. She will sit you down. She will make you sit down while she gives you a fucking presentation about why she's right. This is the type of personality that you're dealing with.
So just like me. She's me.
That's different. You're the queen, Mecca. Now, the problem with Brie Larson is she didn't shut her face. She should have just shut her mouth. She shouldn't have went off, about that whole rant about the white dudes and all. She shouldn't have done that. She should have tried to make an attempt to be a more likable person. In an unbiased opinion, she does have the ability to carry a role, but I think that a lot of her acting ability or inability has to do with herself as a person, how she projects herself as a person and the relationships that she makes while she is within these productions. You could tell that from when she was doing the interviews with the cast members of the Avengers. They were like, oh my God, don't touch Don Cheadle's like, don't touch me. I mean, come on, Don Cheadle of all people, don't touch me, white girl. Are you kidding me? He's all over white women. So that personality shines through. And that's why I don't think anybody likes to work with her. I think they're keeping her around because they have to at this point. They pushed her so hard, and she's kind of an SJW. The same way that people keep Zoe Quinn around because she's an SJW darling, so she's like a token. Brie Larson is a token. When that token has been spent, and if she has not evolved philosophically as a person, we ain't gonna know who Brie. We'll know who Brie Larson is as a footnote in SJW history in about 5 years.
Do you think there's
an Oscar? Go ahead, Rob.
Do you think there's a feeling in Disney like, oh shit, what have we done?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. When it comes down to the numbers, the third quarter earnings report spoke volumes. And that let the investors know that something was wrong. There's a sickness in the camp. And they're trying to fix that right now. Now, they're in a kerfuffle with Star Wars. They're basically
that's why they keep blaming the fans. That's why there's a million articles saying we're toxic fans, we're this, we're that, and we're everything.
Well, yeah, I was gonna take this back around to the Star Wars discussion again, since we got you here, Steven. This is a perfect topic. You brought up Kelly Marie Tran, and Mecca and Rob. I think we're just recently looking into some more of this stuff, and shit, we might even be able to work this into this new one we're working on now, Rob, where basically you trace it back to the original tweet that started this whole thing?
I found the original tweet, and the original tweet comes from a podcast company that is run by people who just talk about movies and things, and they run a few different Twitter handles that are very, very similar. But funny enough, that one of the people on this podcast is a guy whose LinkedIn profile basically says that he's responsible for Twitter impressions of up to 300. He's a social media marketing specialist. Is the guy who's associated with this. So this was, I think somebody took, Kelly Marie Tran deleted her Instagram again. Let's use that as she got bullied off of social media. And so it actually never happened. It was all just marketing.
Right.
Wow.
To distract us from Han Solo flopping.
And would you, Mecca, would you DM that to me? Just the tweet or just something or the name?
Yeah, well, it's all in my video too. It's all in my latest video. There was
I'll check it out.
But,
right.
Yeah.
We talked about this when she did her original op-ed or whatever you want to call it, her editorial, whatever it was that she wrote, where they championed it all over the place as Kelly Marie Tran speaks out about being bullied off of social media, where not once in that entire thing does she ever mention being bullied off of social media. But she does talk about the racism and the sexism and the bullshit that goes on in Hollywood. All they were trying to do was distract you from that. Like, don't look at this, look at this.
Yeah, they didn't talk about it. Nobody talked about it. The Fandom Menace talked about it, but nobody else talked about it. And that really should have been highlighted, because doesn't that go along with the philosophy of Me Too, of exposing this type of bad behavior in that industry? I'm confused. I mean, are we trying to expose negative, toxic people, or are we not?
Yeah, but I think she was trying to expose the people a little closer to her, like the people at Lucasfilm, possibly. Like maybe the Rian Johnson types who put her in a fucking potato sack when she's a gorgeous woman. And, you don't have to make her like that. You don't have to make her look stumpy. Ryan, you roundhead motherfucker. See, and that's the type of thing. Like, I do have a source from Hollywood that has told me in confidence. So I'm not going to say who this person is, but they said that she was pretty much blacklisted out of Hollywood for saying that to hit piece about them, and then they took that and used it against us. So,
wow.
So, but that's just hearsay, and all I can confirm is this person does work in Hollywood. But
right,
I want to play my Brie Larson's crazy supercut
do it with the one with the music under it, so you don't get claimed.
Yeah, hold
that
on,
version. If you
while
got
you're getting that, let me remind everybody real quick that a good friend of the community in the Phantom Menace and a wrench here at the Midnight's Edge After Dark, Captain Robert April himself was in an accident recently, and if you guys can do anything you can to help the GoFundMe, whether it is donate a little bit of money or share it in case there's people you might know who can, there is the address right there in the chat. Please go there to help out and do what you can for him and his family. Right, I'm sure use the help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Captain Robert April, he's one of my chat brethren. Before I was up here, before I was honored enough to go from the chat to a panel like this with these wonderful people that I've been watching for months and months and months. Captain Robert April was in the chats with me in various live streams. That is my chat brethren. I love him. Please do what you can to help him. And just that's all you can do.
It's not coming up on my media player here. I'm using the freaking thing. Hold on, it's gonna take a minute.
VLC.
VLC. I don't have VLC installed.
Just download it. It's free. It's freeware.
I use Winamp.
Listen to Mecca.
See, that's why I had to record it in OBS because none of my converters worked. Because whatever you put it in, like only plays in Winamp or something.
Like Cayman Commons says, just let it go. He's probably talking about, but regardless, I guess there's some squabbling in the chat, guys. Come on, let's all right, let's keep going. Let's not be mean to each other. Let's see. Nice. I don't know what's going on exactly, but
be nice, be good to each other.
That's what the Fandom Menace is really all about. Is we don't care about.
We don't want to turn this into Comicsgate. We don't want to get into it like the Comicsgate people get each other's throats. So
listen, I've been fighting with SJWs for the last 2 days since they found out about the Phantom Menace Volume 1, and I'm having a field day. Yeah, and I've even found a couple of them. I found a couple of them that weren't being accusatory. They weren't being derogatory. They were just stating their feelings. And when I talk with those people, when I interact with them, I give them respect. I say, it's fine that you like, the sequel trilogy. You're allowed to have your opinion. And I explain to them the Fandom Menace, if anything, is about the ability to have our own opinions. So, I mean, if you want to discuss different opinions, do it. You can be heated, but at the end of the day, man, we're all fans, and we're all standing here for each other.
So did you find that yet, Rob?
Yeah, it's not playing. It's not playing.
All right, well. All right, let's move on from that, because one of the reasons why we brought you on here, Stephen, is so you could pitch your book a little bit, because take us a little bit through the timeline here. A couple of people were speaking out like you were just saying, but there were some who weren't being so nice, correct?
Yeah, there's a couple out there that are being kind of nasty, and I'm not trying to be I'm talking down my nose at them, I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of taking the EVS Jeremy Griggs route a little bit. More EVS. I just kind of talk down my nose at them, and that really pisses them off. I, expose them for the hypocritical statements that they're making. This one guy was going off. He was like, I don't really care about what you say. Yet he looked at my Twitter profile, and then he looked at my YouTube channel, and he's like trying to find all this stuff about me, but I don't really care. And I'm just calling him out, like, yeah, I'm glad you don't care that much to look at this and this and this. I can really feel the apathy coming off of you. But really, at the end of the day, it's. The very first inception of this book was how to monetize SJWs, a company profile of geeks and gamers. That's where all this began. And I threw a pitch to Jeremy about it because I like that idea. So I'm kind of taking the spirit of that when these people are attacking me. Pablo Hidalgo's tweeting about my book right now. Like they know it's coming, and I'm glad. And I thank them. I'm like, thank you so much. They're throwing the nastiest comments, and I'm out there thanking them for it. Thank you for free advertising, for letting people know. I really appreciate you. Thank you for letting me monetize your hate, and that's just, and that's where I go with it, because they're going to be furious about this book. they're going to hate it. It exposes everything about who they are. And there's so much information. I had to break this thing down into 5 volumes because the first volume itself, a lot of the things that I've heard from some people are like, I'm not going to buy that book because I've already watched everybody's videos and just about everybody's channels. Like, that's not just about everybody's channels. I do highlight people. I do point out what has gone on in the timeline of the Fandom Menace within YouTube. But I've gathered up a lot of different information. And let me tell you something. It was hard as hell to condense Gamergate down to 1 chapter because that's an entire book in itself. But I show you from the timeline how this whole SJW thing started from the very beginning, from before the proto SJWs back in the early 2000s. Battlestar Galactica went through the same thing Star Wars went through. And it goes all the way up into Gamergate, and then it goes into Comicsgate, Ghostbusters 2016, it goes into The Last Jedi. And basically the volume 1 leads up to just before the High Council. And as far as the YouTube channels go. But there's a lot of information packed in there, and I tell it in a humorous way. You're gonna have to put this book down at some point because you're laughing like I can't deal with this motherfucker right now. You're just gonna have to put it down because you're gonna be laughing at it, and that's the way that I wanted it. I want it to be entertaining. I don't want it to just be something that you're gonna read and go. It's like you're reading a freaking manual how to set up a VCR. I'm sorry, God, I'm a boomer. All right, so
Midnight Edge is not in volume 1. How the hell is Midnight's Edge not in volume 1?
Midnight's Edge. Well, this is the thing.
I got to put you on this.
Well, you guys weren't really in the Phantom Menace so much. Like, you were kind of one of the pioneers of it. Here, let me explain. You guys were one of the pioneers of it, but you never really connected with like the Phantom Menace that like took off. And like the ones who took the name and
really intense about everybody else kind of knew it was a thing. I mean, and then there was,
I'm on it and I'm on the cover.
I know you're up on the cover. I would say that was the other thing. He had a bridge with you, so that's where I was really confused. But I just got to ask Steven. We got to get check.
Yeah, it's not a problem. So volume 1 is I'm a science fiction writer, and the way that I approached this entire thing was I was telling a tale. I'm telling a story. Volume 1 is basically a preface. It is setting you up for what was to become the Phantom Menace, which is where channels like Midnight's Edge is going to come in. Mecha Random, I've got a chapter on her. Mark with a C. I start off with the High Council because I think that's a good starting point. That was a solid show and still is a solid show every week. But I'm telling it like a story. And sometimes when you're telling a complex story, you have to jump around in time a little bit because there's different events that happen at different times that really expose the whole of the story. So volume 1 for me is the preface. This is leading up to. This is all of the damage that have been done, all of the journo lists. This is how the SJWs came to be. This is how they infested entertainment. This is how the access media began to protect them. This is how this moved into the trial, which was Ghostbusters 2016. They didn't figure out that it was going to fail, and they went full force after that. Get woke, go broke. They didn't understand that concept yet. So volume 1 really leads up to that point. I don't really go into the Fandom Menace proper until volume 2. And then from that point forward is the evolution, the different channels, the interactions, the stories, Solo, Captain Marvel, and the various other things that have happened, the various other leaks and information and events that have happened since then. So the reason that Mecha's on the cover is because I wanted some female representation on the cover. Mecha's the queen of the Phantom Menace. And if there was going to be a face on there, it was going to be the queen.
You're kind of doing it like, like if you've seen the movie Rocket Man, it starts like, midway through his life and then goes back kind of thing. So you're like kind of setting us up, like slamming us right into it. I can see where you're going with that. So
right. I'm going to go back to something.
I got it.
When I cover World Class, I'm going to go back because World Class has been calling this shit out for years and years. Was calling this out for a long time. So I'm going to have to go back and explain that in a future volume. It's just that I wanted a solid foundation for the series. So when you go into volume 2, so that if you manage to not get volume 2 and you go into volume 3, you still have an understanding of what's going on because you read 1 and you understand the foundation of what has been built, the story that is being told.
Right, and I'll try and see if I can get the link to your. If you don't get it to me first for your book, if people want to go and check that out, I still don't think you're going to be sharing audio here, Rob. Oh, yeah, you might be. Never mind. Don't matter. Go ahead.
Okay, well, this is a supercut that I did for Mecca's channel of Brie Larson, and it's intercut with certain philosophical, great philosophers of our time, just to demonstrate
the greatest philosophers of our time.
I don't know if we can go through the whole thing here, but yeah,
okay, and here we go.
When I was prepping for the film, I asked Eva how she keeps going in the face of so much working against her, and she said, "If all I can do is bring a little hope to someone, that's enough."
Fuck hope. Fuck hope.
This kind of hope is an antidote to loneliness. This kind of hope is an elixir to stagnation.
Hey, which one of you cute little cupcakes wants to come home and cook me a meal and give me a blowjob? Blowjob!
When hope is in the room, curiosity and introspection of even the harshest realities can be interrogated.
Some people are really fucking stupid.
Eva reminded me to first create my forever community, myself, and observe where my biases lay.
Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that.
I just see people.
And it doesn't take you very long to spot one of them, does it? Take you about 8 seconds.
I don't have negative energies. I have loving energies.
You'll be listening to some guy, you say, "This guy is fucking stupid."
And from there, look at what's in a 1 foot radius to you. Your neighbors, your friends, your table mates here. How well do you know them?
Then there are some people, they're not stupid, they're full of shit.
And I just play people. I didn't play Captain Marvel because I wanted to be a hero. I just wanted to be a person.
That doesn't take very long to spot either, does it? Take you about the same amount of time.
No, I'll be the first me, not the next Tom Cruise. Thank you very much.
Well, you'll be listening to some guy and say, "Well, he's fairly intelligent. He's full of shit."
How deep are you getting, and can you get closer?
Stop telling me the same shit over and over again. Why don't you go and get kidnapped? Have some new shit happen to you.
Okay, well, that just gives you a little sample of the rest of the
Yeah, it gets going. Yeah.
I had to mute that.
Go watch my video of wherever that is. The best Brie Larson mashup. I think it's linked in pretty much all of my videos.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh my god.
We got super chats to get through super quick. Matt G sent us another $2. I think MCU is done by 2030. Iron Man reboot by 2060. I think you covered that one. Sorry. Sister Harold, they have to drop. Did you get that one?
Yes.
3. Okay, you got that one. All right. I just want to make sure we don't miss any. Fanatics of Film sent us $5. Jabba the Hutt is a wonderful human being. Brie Larson is a slimy, bigoted slug. Oh. All right. I know we got, I thought we had another one, but I think, oh yeah, we do. Dark Zaid gave us $5 Australian. If croutons are bread, then salads are with, then are salads with croutons just bowls of sandwich?
One of the bits on one of George Carlin's records was the book club. You know, you'll receive the following books: How to Fill Your Life with Croutons. You know,
all expense paid trip to Dover, Delaware.
We got Sonic Boom with $1.99 said, "God, I can't wait to see how bad Rise of Skywalker will suck." Yeah, well, I mean, there's that 5% chance it might not suck. I mean, it ain't got to be better than Last Jedi.
I don't know. I think Last Jedi is going to be better because it looks better from the trailer.
All JJ needs is all Ryan Johnson had to do was make a 7 out of 10, and he couldn't even do that. He couldn't even do that.
And he could have done it. Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, full Jedi powers with modern industrial lights and magic. Easy. Could have done it.
But yeah, just have him lift his little X-wing up out of the water with the Force. How hard was that? Let Princess Leia die. 2 things they could have done, and I think a lot of people. Oh, and don't bring in Holdo and let Akbar be the one to save everybody. Like that's what they could have done. Like those 3 things, and it would have been a good movie.
Yeah.
Well,
Agreed.
yeah. We were.
Oh yeah, get rid of Rose Tico. Okay, now it's piling up. But you know,
Give Rose Tico a good storyline.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well,
give her a reason to be.
Well, we pretty much
Right.
fixed movies the other day on Drunk 3PO's broadcast, me and 19K Fox, and
I did.
other
Yeah, I did something. I did something on the Facebook group that was pretty mean regarding Rose Tico, and so many people were defending her, and I said, "Yeah, guys, think of it this way: she's not the first Asian woman to ruin something a lot of people love." And I put a picture of John and Yoko together.
Oh,
that was terrible.
It's not as bad as Ryan Johnson making the only Asian girl to drive a car and crash it, right? The only car in Star Wars.
I'm so ashamed. Yeah, Ray to reinforce the stereotype of Asians being bad drivers, Ryan.
Oh, it's so bad. God, that whole movie.
You spend 45 minutes looking for a gas station in space.
They should have just played clips of Robot Chicken.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, am I watching? Is this the O.J. Simpson? Is this O.J. Simpson
there's
again?
more storytelling in the Robot Chicken one Star Wars than there is in this crap. Because I've said this before, but if you go and somebody has done it, there's like 3 different storylines going on through their crap that's all out of order. Somebody went and put them all in order. So there's like a story with Palpatine and Vader. There's like a story with God, what's the other one? Can't remember. What was that?
The only thing I'm looking forward to with Palpatine coming back in Episode 9 is the Robot Chicken episodes that will follow. That's it.
Yeah, there was another one in Boba Fett. In the book, the Boba Fett one's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so we got your Indiegogo up on the screen right there. I'm gonna share the link in the chat. So if you guys want to get over there to check that out, actually, it's only $25 to get the book, right?
Yep. I'm not charging for shipping. I work that into the cost. I'm not really so I had the GoFundMe run so that I could cover a few things so that I didn't have to pass some of the cost off to the customer. And I thank everybody that gave the GoFundMe, that shared it and everything. I appreciate that. So I'm not charging for shipping with Volume 1. So that, because I just want to get books in the hands and I want to get them out there before The Rise of Skywalker comes out. I really do. I want to get that done. Generally, Indiegogos, I've noticed, they run and then you wait like 6 months to a year before you get your work, before you get what you paid for. I'm not doing that. As soon as I get enough books, as soon as I have enough money and enough books ordered, I'm ordering the books. I'm ordering a full run of books, and then I'm going to start shipping them out as soon as I can. 10% of the profits that are made are going to the Peter Mayhew Foundation. One of the tenets of the Phantom Menace is that we promote charities. So in the spirit of that, because this book is about the Phantom Menace, that is what the Phantom Menace will be doing. We'll be donating to a different charity with each volume. So I mean, profit so much in this one, I'm not really worried about, for me. I just want to get this out there to you guys, get the ball rolling, and get these books in hands as soon as I can. This first edition right here will never be run again. This exact cover will never be sold again after this run is over. So this is your only chance to grab it. And if you do that way, your investment will increase in over time. I mean, if you take care of the book, that investment will increase over time as future editions come out of Volume 1. Working on different things, getting like things like bulk shipments for stores and what platform I'm going to sell them eventually and release them online. But those are discussions for the future. Any questions I really can't answer at this time about that.
Yeah, we got will there be an audio book of it? Oh, we'll have to see. Huh?
There will be an audio book. We are in discussions about that right now.
So yeah, I plan on hopefully getting my $25 in there soon to get my copy, maybe even the 30, so I can get the signed one. I haven't decided yet. I don't know if you're worth $5. No, I'm just kidding. I probably do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not. Just get the cheaper version. No, we put a lot of effort into this, man. I got to give credit to my co-author, Mike Rogers. If it wasn't for him doing a lot of some of the digging that needed to be done, because we had to make sure that we had a catalog, we had an archive of information, so that if anybody tries to come at us for libel, we have that information available. No, we were not libelous. Here is where you said this. This is where we got this information. And he did a lot of that archiving. He's a contributor at Bleeding Fool. He works over there. So, you know, a lot of Itchy Baka. He was a great resource for this book. Data Racer was a great resource for this book. All these wonderful YouTubers, you know, in the Fandom Menace, you know, a lot of research went into putting together this information for you guys. You're definitely, I without a doubt, you're going to read this book and you're going to find something out you didn't know before, or you're going to understand something in a way that you didn't before. And like I said, it's not going to read like instructions. You're going to have fun reading this book. It's going to be emotional. You're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. It's going to remind you of things that hurt you, and it's also going to make you laugh the way that I come at some of these creators. So, I mean, I really hope you enjoy it. Share the link if you can. You know, if you can't buy it, if you can't afford it, if you can't do that, then don't buy it. You know, I mean, I don't want to. Don't put yourself out. But if you can, please pick this up. Share the link. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you very much. And also, I'd like to say that always believe in yourself. Never stop believing in yourself. Whatever dream you have, whether it's making music, making film, writing, you know, whatever it is that you like to do, never give up. Because a year and a half ago, I never gave up on my dream of writing, and here I am a year and a half later, from the chat on a panel with these people, with people that I look up to, you know, and that's just part of my dream, to be a writer and to know these fine people. You can do anything you put your mind to. I'm dead serious. I was really bad off, and I came out of that to where I am now. So never give up on your dreams. Never give up hope, and keep fighting for what you believe. I love you all, and thank you.
Excellent. And we'll do the best we can to help you get the word out. And we've got a few questions for you in the chat. One here, Steven, he says, Max Mercer, Steven, we remember the entirety of Volume 2 must be about Midnight's Edge After Dark. Yeah, right. No, he's already told me that we might get lucky to get into Volume 4. So we had another question is about we had a couple people asking about selling the book outside of the US, like Australia, UK is a possibility.
Yep, it's worldwide. You could, if you buy it, and you know, if I got to eat a little bit to ship it out to you, I mean, that was the point of the GoFundMe.
There you go, folks. So there's your answer to that one. So head on over to the link that I shared in the chat if you're interested. We'll sell a few books if we can tonight. $5 from Matt G. Ever notice SJWs don't care about the Hunger Games? You know, a 4-film franchise with a female lead, not 1 or 2 or 4.
Doesn't fit the narrative.
It doesn't fit the narrative. I like the Hunger Games. It doesn't fit the narrative.
It's just like the article we keep bringing up that we ran across last week, where the younger critic or whatever you want to call
that Mary Sue chick.
Yeah, that never seen the Alien before, and she was like blown away that there was a strong female character. But of course, she had to point out that also Ripley was right. You know, it's like, well, still.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? I mean, that girl sits at home in her mother's apartment in Brooklyn collecting Pokemon, thinking they're real.
You really wanted to say basement, but you didn't want to use that word.
Yeah, I did, because I thought better of it. I'm like, no, they're in Brooklyn, so she's probably in some shitty apartment somewhere. Because you know she's not making like money to live on her own, being a Mary Sue writer living in Brooklyn.
Shatner said that they didn't pay a lot of their female writers, but the editor, a man, gets a nice salary.
Really?
As he should.
As Shatner said, had that tweet actually.
I know.
So there.
Those Mary Sue people. No, they don't deserve to be paid for their crap.
Now, I love when you come to the Mary Sue Mecca. When it's a Mary Sue article, I know I'm going to enjoy that video. And I'm not giving up at 4 minutes, girl. I go the whole length, and I'm hitting the like button.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we were looking through my analytics, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing wrong. My channel's dying. Everybody's doing better than mine. I don't know.
You're doing great. You're doing great. You know, it's just I'm looking at. I have like 330 something subscribers. I love every one of y'all. Thank you so much. And I look at the analytics too on some of my videos, and I'm like, oh, how you know? It's like a 10-minute video. How is it only at 2.5 minutes? What am I doing wrong?
People click off of me because I blab. I don't know.
Look,
Oh,
more Becca cleavage videos and more props. Okay, that's all you.
More props.
Because when I get mecha cleavage videos, I call it out in the chat. I'm like, oh god, it's going to be a good day. I love you,
I
bro.
need to buy. I need to go shopping at some point. But I'm like trying to not spend money lately because
I know
movies are expensive.
You were in that one video with the leather top, and like you were talking, you kept pulling it up like every 2 seconds. You were pulling it up, and I'm like, you know damn well you ain't supposed to have that top on right now.
Oh, the corset. Well, the corset is.
Yeah, the corset.
Yeah, it's a reward.
It was a reward. It was a reward for everybody. You kept pulling it up. All right, I'm done flirting. I'm sorry.
This is why I'm better than Star Wars. I kind of know, okay, 75% of my audience are men around my age. What do guys like? Gee, what do I like? Tits. Let me see. Tits. I have some of those. I can put those on display. Why not?
How dare you give the audience what they want? Haven't you been paying attention to Star Wars?
I know. Gee, if only I made like half as much as Star Wars. I would take how much money they lost in Solo. They could just give me that amount of money, and then I would never talk about Star Wars ever again. I would never slam them.
Look, you heard it here. You heard it here. Mecha is ready to sell out, y'all. You heard it.
Oh fuck! I'd sell out for $250,000 right now at this point, because like the harassment and bullying and the death threats and the SJW hit pieces and shit. I'm like, okay, you guys do realize I'm not making Brie Larson money here. You do realize I'm one person who handles her own email, her own Patreon, her own YouTube comments, her own thumbnails, her own editing. When when it's not like the Brie Larson supercut and good, it's like, dude, I'm one person. I don't have the defenses of a Brie Larson. Like Brie Larson would have been rich even if she wasn't an actor, because her parents are chiropractors, and she would have married some lawyer or something and been bitchy and never bloom except maybe on his birthday. That's the type of woman she is, right? And so the fact that people have to take it upon themselves to defend these people and bully me and attack me and give me death threats is just disgusting. So
I need updates on those bullying and death threats, because I've got stuff in your chapter, and if I can, I'd like to talk to you and just maybe get some quotes from you about some of this stuff for your chapter in volume 2.
Well, the most recent ones were the ones I've had out on Twitter. So I mean, I do try and at least retweet them. I try and save them. I try and.
I've been so busy. I've been so busy. Like when I was in the collecting information phase, that was like 6 months ago. So I've got that stuff, and I got the best of that stuff. But I've been so busy with other things, I haven't been able to pay attention. So if you spot one or two that are really good, or you still have them, let me know.
All right. I'm sure I've made videos, but yeah, I can't even remember at this point. There's been so many.
Yeah, but I mean, the point of Mecha Random's chapter in volume 2 is to show the hypocrisy of these people. Say always believe women. They're LGBTQ. Yet we have a woman who is LGBTQ, who is constantly attacked, threatened, berated online because she has a different opinion, and
and we get it harder. And like Anna gets it amazingly hard, but she's
Jesse Milestone and all of them.
Yeah.
I'm waiting, Jesse Milestone. I'm still waiting for your chapter, honey. I love you. Please give me your chapter. Thank you. Okay, done.
And seriously, we get it so harsh, and then I get the whole, you're not LGBT enough. I bet you're not even LGBT. Like seriously. Ugh.
You're not gay enough. You're like Ruby Rose.
I know.
You're not gay enough.
That's their other thing, is like, okay, so what you want me to like eat pussy on camera? Because I'll do it. It says if you really need me to.
It's a different kind of YouTube. But...
I know. Well, I mean, I can fucking do it on Twitter. Shit. I can do it on Patreon. We'll do it on Patreon.
That's okay. Well, we did have one other story to get to. I don't know if you have time to stick around for this or not, Steven, but
yeah.
All right. Of course, what's going on right now, or I think it's still going on. Yeah, the whole Star Trek convention thing in England, Destination Star Trek. And the other day, Patrick Stewart had something interesting to say. We're gonna roll the tape, as they say in Hollywood.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure we can play it. This is.
Will we meet the rest of the crew? I think so. I think there's every possibility.
That's all we
What did he say?
He said the question he keeps getting asked is, "Will we see the rest of the crew?" And he goes, "I think so. Yes."
Yes. Amazingly though. Tom, amazingly though, he did have there is a part you cut out of that and I actually happen to have it right here.
I like big Asian butts, and I cannot lie.
Oh, surprising revelation from Patrick Stewart there. So.
He says that everywhere he goes.
So I think there's every possibility.
I think there's every possibility of that happening. I want to get the next words. Yeah,
I want it to be true too. Like I'm, I've said this a couple times before. I'm a bigger Star Trek fan than I am a Star Wars fan, and I grew up on reading Rainbow with LeVar Burton. I want to see him. I want to see Geordi one more time. That would be nice. He's one of my favorite characters.
I wonder what they're gonna have Worf look like if he shows up though.
Oh, how dare you bring that up? That's gonna piss me off. If they give me a Klingon, I'm gonna be so mad. Oh, that was it. The Klingons were my last Jedi. That was it. That
was when I got into a lot of this. And then Star Wars happened, and then I'm like, okay, fine. I'm just bitching on my gaming live streams at this point about Star Wars and Star Trek.
Yeah, it was like a double nut punch, man. For me, it was like kick twice right in the balls.
Mm-hmm.
Just the Klingorks and then Last Jedi. I'm like, are you for real, Hollywood? This is what you're gonna give me? You have no dedication to the lore and the legacy and the fandom. You're gonna serve us this garbage? I'm gonna stop now. I'll go on a rant.
That's all right. That's what this show's for.
No, they don't like us, but they like our money. But they want to attack us and insult us. Oh, but they want our money.
Yeah. It's pathetic. I mean, look, if you want the customers to come back and keep buying your product, then give us a good product. There is an established lore with Star Trek. There is a standard there. It was always highbrow science fiction from the get. All right. You told interesting, well-written stories. You had narratives in there. It was always progressive. You could have kept it progressive. You could have kept it liberal and still been able to tell decent stories in a way that that anyone can absorb, that you can respect and be able to reflect and understand what this story is telling you. And that is the point. That is the point of Star Trek. The point of Star Trek is this is what the future can be. All right. The future is not dead baby Klingork heads. All right. The future is not torches on the bridge of a starship. What the? Oh.
What's that flame that will burn up all the oxygen? Yeah, that's smart.
See, you mentioned that Star Trek can be liberal. Well, the liberalism changed. Liberals now aren't like the current modern ones that you think of that people call leftists are not the liberals that we grew up knowing about and being.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to get like political, but nowadays their idea of giving a message is just saying white man bad, you're a racist and you're a sexist. And that is it. They just repeat that over and over.
They went back to their slave owning roots. I don't know. That's what they went back to the days of segregation. They're bringing it back around. I guess it's the second coming of it. I am a '90s liberal,
and Kennedy era Democrat. Yeah,
and I do not recognize my party anymore, and that's why I am no longer with them. That's all the politics I want to talk.
And the worst thing is it's all. Do you ever notice? It's always the whitest white girls with blonde hair and blue eyes are always screaming the loudest for diversity.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get spanked as a kid. They didn't get the discipline changed.
Spank them.
All right. The kids, we're all the same generation here. Like different. We kids were harder back then. You learned trial by fire.
This is the Brie Larson generation, right? This is that generation of kids who grow up telling their parents what to do.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is how you're going to raise me. They're all like that. They're all a bunch of bratty little fucking kids.
Yeah.
And if they don't like what you say, they try and get you shut up. They get you silenced. They're all fucking Joffrey.
Yeah. I used to have a saying, I still do, I guess, that when we were kids, you were afraid to have the cops bring you home because you get your ass beat. The cops didn't show up at your house because you got your ass beat. And what I mean by that is, it was more like you got in trouble with the cops to be like, all right, no, take my ass to jail, do what you're going to do to me now, but do not tell my dad. Because it's like you get your ass beat.
Right.
Yeah, it's like you're more worried about, no, don't take me home in a cop car, whatever you do, just let me walk down the block, please, 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 please. Because last thing you wanted them to know is you got in trouble with the cops. You weren't worried about the cops so much. You weren't, nowadays, it's like they pull the cops out every time. Oh, my kid's guilty of that shit. I'll call the cops, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, whatever.
Look, I grew up in a pretty cool house. I got arrested at 16. My stepmom came to get me out, and she was like, son, you interrupted my Three Stooges marathon. That's how she came at me. It wasn't that bad.
We do got one other super chat, $2 from Jaybird says, Jaybird Third says, without respect, we reject. That is correct. But we don't, condone any kind of or anything like that. We've never ever called for one. So it's just to go back to all this other stuff, and it goes the same thing with the Star Trek community. They're just as bad or worse when it comes to this bullshit attacking people for their opinions on a TV show or a movie.
No, the Star Trek people are worse.
Too. But on both fronts, that's what it boils down to. Is you have one. The reason why I say, some people say, well, yeah, both sides use the similar tactics. Yes, in some aspects that may be true, and others I'll argue that is not true. And one of the reasons why I'm on the side I'm on, besides the fact that how I feel about The Last Jedi and so on, is because, and Star Trek and so on, is because the other side will attack somebody over their opinion over a movie or a TV show. Personally, I don't know anybody, or at least I would not be friends with anybody who would go out of their way to attack somebody because they like something. I've never condoned that. I've never asked anybody or anybody in our audience to do anything like that. So the fact that they're trying to push this narrative that we are like that really bothers me. And I know that was one big thing about that article. That's one big thing we've dealt with time and time again with Star Trek. And I know that's kind of the whole centerpiece of your book, is it not? Basically, Stephen?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's really just calling out the fact that you have people that are being placed in positions of creativity. It started out, it was back in 2000s, a little bit in TV, but then it became games and journalism, strategically placed in journalism to cover for the placements that were going into gaming, comics, movies, and now entertainment, like all those forms of entertainment. It's like a two-pronged attack. And I show you how it was laid out and where it came from and what type of ideology that laid out this two-pronged attack, where you have these people, these SJWs, infesting the creative aspect, and you have them in the access media, and so that they bolster each other. They keep this cycle of bullshit going, and it's got to stop. Today, real quick. Today, in one of the hate threads that were started about my book, I encountered a person who said, the sequel trilogy really got me through a rough time in my life, and it breaks my heart to see the fandom the way it is. And I responded to that person that I was glad that they were able to use that escapism to get away from the bad things that they were going through at that time. And I wish them well. I said, the problem is, the reason that I'm doing this is because there are people that are in the positions as the creatives that are pushing this kind of hate, that are pushing racism and sexism and bigotry. I said that has to be fought, and I wish them well.
No, I got a question for you. Yeah, on as far as the media side of this in your book, are you going to get into how a big part of this is a lot of these articles in quotation that we get now are basically paid propaganda from the studios? To the point where you had to literally have it at the top of the article. We've seen it, especially in Star Trek, Star Trek here a little bit, where they've actually had to flat out say paid for by CBS All Access.
Oh, the one where that one article, I did a video on that where I picked apart the New York Times propaganda article that they paid for. Their promotional, their advertisement, their paid advertisement, saying how many wonderful, strong females were in Star Trek. And I went woman by woman and said why they're all terrible characters and that nobody should like any of them. because from the racist cannibals to the disrespectful people who should have been thrown out of Starfleet for getting their mutineers, right? Those type of people, to just completely worthless admirals who are more worried about, getting their oil changed than actually being an admiral. Oh, tee, Captain Lorca, your dick is so big. Please change my oil for me. And that is these sort of idiot characters that these writers think are strong women. And not a one of those females are any good. You've got autism token Tilly, who is or isn't on the spectrum, depending on who you ask. And it's just disgusting what they're trying to pass off as good characters.
Well, that aside though, but my original question though is that's what these are. And I'm trying to remember a time in history where we've had film or television do this kind of thing where they've actually paid for flat out articles. Let's call
payola. It's payola. It's buzzola.
Payola, but it's more propaganda is what I
can tell you exactly when. There's actually a movie that talked about this. It's called Wild Guitar. It's made Art Hall Jr. made it. If you guys know anything about Mystery Science Theater and EGA, the movie Wild Guitar goes into a thing that they call buzzola, right? It's where they hire like the student or the record company. It's a music thing in this case, but he's like an Elvis, right? He does movies and music and all this. He's a pop star from the 1950s that they're trying to market. Bud Eagle. Oh, what kind of fads can we start? Oh, well, what are eagle feathers in our hair? What kind of thing do we do? Oh, you hire all these people to start fan clubs. You hire all these people to go through schools and you give them basically free access and free records and things. And just like Access Media. And then they start their little fan club for schools. And there'll be teenage girls working for the record companies to start fan clubs, to start the fad of promoting these artists. And that's something that they've been doing for as long as there's been pop stars.
Not wax. That was way back in the payola scandal. I get that.
And they're still doing that now with these hired Twitter campaign people. They will give somebody like, here is a free ticket for Captain Marvel. And, then they will go off and they will start a Twitter handle, et cetera, those type of things. And they become these stalker fans, and they're condoned and in some cases paid for by a lot of these studios. Because that's how you make celebrities. That's how you make some woman who has an Oscar, but she's so boring, nobody remembers her, a celebrity. You have all of these things, and that's one of the things that they're doing now, and that's why they're having these hit piece articles on us, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Well, that part of it, but like I said, my original question to Stephen was, do you cover the aspect of the media as far as the paid articles that we're getting now? Is that something that you're going to get into at all, or?
I have chapters on the mainstream, access, and shill media. I cover all three tiers.
So that was in the shill media, or because these are actually like, they're not even like what Mecca was getting into in the roundabout way, was these are not even articles generally written by anybody who's on staff. They come straight from the source.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the Kelly Marie Tran thing.
Like they actually have to pay it anymore to where it's like, this is a paid article, or that's a little bit. I think that was more of an op-ed, but I mean, I don't know. I was just curious how you tackled that in your book more so.
Well, that is going to be in probably volume 4. So I've got all the material put together. I've got it written out the outline that I want, but we haven't condensed it into how we're going to present it. All the information's there. I haven't molded it yet. So
probably a good place to bring us in then, because that's what we uncovered, especially with.
Well, I mean, if you would like that to be a part of the Midnight's Edge chapter,
that's something that Andre always does, and that's something we do. We always do.
Well, let's make that happen.
Peel back those layers. Oh yeah, I've told you anything you need from us. I already gave you the outline of how Midnight's Edge began. Anything else you need to know, just ask.
Absolutely, we can do we'll do a chapter on Midnight's Edge, and then you guys can help us with the we could probably integrate it into that chapter. That'd be great. I'd love to have you guys on board.
I'm sure you'd want to talk to a little bit about some of that.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. Whenever he has time.
Oh, that'll be tough, but we'll work on it. So yeah. Okay. But yeah, I just was curious, like how that plays in. I mean, we know how it plays into this, but I was curious how it played into your book. And
well, I like I said, I do a lot of concentrating on the three main. Although I'm getting help with Doctor Who because I'm not a Whovian, so I've enlisted people like Gary Buechler to help me with that because I want Whovians to help me mold that. People who love that genre, people who love that show. I would feel false in presenting information like that, and it would probably feel stale. But I come at this from like, for instance, when I go into the mainstream media a little bit, I go over when Bob Iger blacklisted a paper for writing what he didn't like about Anaheim, about Disneyland. There was an article that was written about Anaheim, about Disneyland, and how they were kind of ripping off the town with the deals they were getting and the tax deductions they were getting, and they weren't putting back into the community. They were just sucking up all this money and putting it into Disneyland. And Iger didn't like it, so Iger had the people at that publication, their entertainment division, blacklisted from viewing any Disney movies. They could not get early access to any Disney movies. What ended up happening was that publication and several others said, "Okay, we're just going to boycott a Disney premieres all the time. That's what you're going to do to us, and then we're not even going to promote you." So eventually Iger rescinded that, but in exchange, and this isn't really talked about, in exchange for rescinding that blackball, he had the editor and some of the staff members fired from that publication as payment for his leniency. So I go into things like that. That's how I lean into mainstream media and the relationship with Disney and CBS and other entertainment properties. So that's kind of how I start digging into it.
I remember that was a big deal. And we could sit here and talk to you about this all day long, and I want to. And we're going to have to bring you on the main channel one of these days to really dive into your book a little bit more, and hopefully that way it'll give you a little bit more exposure as well. So we do want to remind everybody out there to check out Steven's YouTube channel. Check out the it's not a GoFundMe, it's a Indiegogo. Sorry, Indiegogo. Well,
it's a Comicsgate wheelhouse thing. So for the Fandom Menace, it's a little different, And I get that. I mean, if I was Comicsgate, then everybody go like, "Yeah, go here and do this and click this," and they'd already know.
All right.
But
yeah, no, I'm kind of watching you progress along here, and I get more excited all the time when I see you talk about it. And yeah, we're more than glad to help you any way we can. And again, everybody get out there, and for just $30 you can get the book signed, or $25 you can get the book just not signed, but there's no extra shipping charge or anything like that, like he said. And yeah, do check it out. And they're going to be working on an audiobook version as well, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll keep you posted as best we can. And like I said, Stephen, we're going to have you on the main channel. But what do you think, Rob? Do you think it's time we wrap this up, or is there anything else that we really needed to dive into?
No, not really. I mean, you tried to watch Terminator Dark Fate. We might have to get that to that later.
Oh, that's not out yet, though. That'll be once it's out.
Oh, Europe. I mean, you have a source, right?
Well, yeah, but I couldn't get on the plane yet.
We're supposed to talk about that, aren't we?
No.
Okay. All right.
No, but I did watch Dolomite Is My Name, and that was freaking amazing.
Okay. Well, yeah. I think it's about as good a place to leave it for now.
So if you guys got Netflix, check that movie out. I do recommend.
Yes, me too.
All right, everybody. I think that's it. We'd like to thank Stephen Walton actually for joining us.
Thank you very much, everybody. If you can afford it, please buy the Phantom Menace Volume 1. I promise you will appreciate it. It will be great for your library. There's going to be 4 more volumes coming out, and when all 5 volumes after, when the 5th volume comes out, we're going to give you a nice sleeve to put each one of your books in your library, so you can have them all together. If you just say, if you can pay for the 25, pay for the 25. You have to pay for the 30, you get a signature, and you also get to help with some of the shipping costs for some other members who have also bought this book. That is up to you. But thank you very much. Check out my channel, author Stephen Walton. I try and keep up on it as much as I can, though I don't have the time to spend on it with everything that's going on. I try to put out as much content as I can. And please check out a few videos before you subscribe. I really want this channel to be people that like what I'm doing and not just empty subs. Thank you all very much. Have a great night.
What don't you fucking understand?
See, Christian Bale. All right, everybody. Mecca, any final words?
I think I'm gonna go and watch the Mandalorian trailer here.
Yeah, we
Should I do a stream of it?
I don't know if Chance bringing it on.
Okay, I can't hear either one of you when you talk at the same time.
We Chance bringing it on the stream.
I'm gonna probably just stream it then. I mean, if you guys are rapping, I'll probably just do a stream of it myself.
Well, I wanted to, but we all gotta have to watch it, So I don't know. Fuck it, right? Why not?
I just have one more question, there, Steven. Now, if I buy all,
I don't want to watch it until I watch it on my stream.
I mean, is that negotiable, or if I buy all 5 volumes, do I get the card and you give me a free punch the card and do I get a free sub? I mean, is that no?
Well, actually, they will transform into Devastator for you.
Oh, that's even better. I have people Devastator on. Always pass up your transformer for your sandwich for a transformer. That's always. All right. What are we doing? We watching the trailer? What's going on?
Well, I guess Mecca wants to wait to watch it on her, so maybe we can just do something real quick ourselves here afterwards. But all right.
Hey, everybody, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll catch you next time.
I don't need to know what goes on in your bedroom. How dare you talk to me that way, you third-rate tot?